ice one. They wanted me and nobody fighting me. Phone ringing and I tell them it's ice. I got wifey on bling and she freeze photo.
Welcome back to another video from Street Ride. This is your boy Rick. And today we're gonna be doing something a little bit different than I normally do. I wanna start a series about budget builds. Thinking about it for a while, for a few months, probably since the springtime. I know there are a lot of new owners to the B9 platform. You know, it's always new people joining the platform, wanting to know what to do with their vehicle. And more cars are coming off leases, so they're getting into the hands of owners who are going to keep their car for a while and they just want to do something to build their vehicle. I know that there are already budget builds out there probably for different cars, including the B9 platform, but I want to give my own take on it. So the first one we're going to do is a $2,500 budget build. Okay, I'm going to put that down here in the corner so that you can see the total cash that we have allowance. And with this build, mind you, I'm not sponsored by anybody in particular to pick any particular part that we pick in this build. This is just me giving my opinion on how to maximize that $2,500. There are going to be some options that might be a little bit cheaper, but I'm trying to spend every cent of that $2,500. So there's a way that you probably could spend about 24 and change, and if you want, you can probably spend a little bit more. But this is strictly for $2,500 budget build, okay? That's what we're gonna be doing. I hope it'll help give you an idea of what you wanna do with your vehicle if you have a certain price point. I would like to do other budgets like maybe $3,500, $5 grand, $6,500, 10 grand, or whatever. You guys comment below if there's a particular budget that you would like me to do, okay? So let's get started. So with $2,500 in the bank, and that's all we're trying to spend, this will not include any type of installation from a shop or anything like that. That's not going to be included in this budget build. That's something you have to do, and it can vary from shop to shop, so we're not going to do that. And also, it's not going to cover taxes because depending on where you live, there's going to be tax rates different from 5% to 8 or 9% or 10% or 11% or whatever your state might be charging. So I have my laptop in front of me. I'll throw it up on the screen whenever I'm looking at particular things so that you guys can get an idea of what we're going to be looking at. All right. So I would say the first thing we want to do when looking at a $2,500 budget build is we want to look at a tune. So there are a few options out there currently based on today. I know that there was EPL and they're no longer here, so obviously I won't be talking about them, but we do still have 034, IE, and APR. I know Unitronic is in the mix too. I didn't really look at Unitronic too much on here when looking at the different tunes. I pretty much just stayed focused on 034, IE, and APR. So nothing wrong with Unitronic per se. It's just that I didn't look into them when it came to the budget build, and they are an option under that. All right, so with 034, their stage 1 comes with the TCU tune, and there's their free TCU tune, and so does IE. They also do a free TCU tune with theirs. We're not going to be talking about the 1 Plus tune, and we're not talking about APR's Plus stage 1 tune, the one with the warranty. All right, so we're talking about APR stage 1 tune. When looking at 034, their price is quoted at $850, but then you're going to need the dynamic plus end user flashing kit, and that's $150. So when you add that together, you get $1,000, all right? With IE, you're going to be looking at about $899, and then you need to buy their flash cable, which is $150. I did round up on the cent stuff, so if it was $149.99, I just went ahead and rounded to $150. That's going to put you at $1,049, and then with APR, they're looking at $899, and then you have to get it dealer installed. I've heard estimates of about $100 for their install, so that will put your total at $999. I did not see anywhere in there about a TCU tune. I do see where they talk about raising the rev limit on TCU and stuff like that. So I think they do a little bit with the TCU. Not entirely sure, but there is no separate TCU tune that I seen. I could be wrong, but I didn't see it. So therefore I didn't include it in the information I just gave you, but I could be wrong. So just do your research. So you pick your tune, whatever tune you want to do. I went ahead and used the most expensive one. I'm going to go ahead and go with IE stage 1 tune. There's a reason why I picked the most expensive one is because when we get done, you'll understand why. But you could save a little bit of money. It looks like going with the 034 or save $1 with APR. But in this case, we're going to go ahead and go with the IE stage 1 tune. The next thing you're going to want to look at after looking at that tune is an intercooler. So with the intercooler, I looked at Rev9, CTS, and IE. The reason why those were the most inexpensive ones that I've seen, and I really added the Rev9 on there because I actually used it before. And I will tell you that with the Rev9, it's heavier and the inlet and outlet are smaller than my Wagner that I have now. But the Wagner is over $1,000, so I did not include it in this budget build. Rev9 comes in at $550, CTS intercooler comes in at $700, and IE comes in at $850. And for the sake of cost, and we only have $2,500 to go with, I went ahead and picked the cheaper intercooler of Rev9 at $550. I feel comfortable with that because I used it and I was able to run a really good time in my Sportback. And you can check my video. I'll probably put the link up here with the best time that I ran with the Rev9 intercooler installed, okay? So that's $1,049 for our tune and $550 for our intercooler. So now I would go ahead and go with an intake. Intakes get really controversial because a lot of the companies like APR, IN034, and AWE will use like a carbon fiber intake, which costs more than just getting a basic intake, which, you know, gets colder air from the atmosphere and through the intercooler and into the engine. I went ahead and we're not going to really be looking at any of the carbon fiber ones, but I did put IE's intake on here, and it did come in at $900. Just looking at the prices here. And I had CTS, which comes in at $300, 034 comes in at $436, and APR that comes in at $500. 034 has a non-carbon fiber variant of their carbon fiber intake, and APR also has a non-carbon fiber variant of their intake. CTS has an open intake with a heat shield for $300. I ran CTS's intake for $300 when I ran the time, when I ran one of my best times, stock turbo. But in this particular case, we're gonna go with 034's intake, which is slightly cheaper than APR's, but a little bit better when it comes to heat management than CTS. That comes in at $436, and we're gonna add that to our build. There we go. We now have spent a total of $2,035, right? And off of our $2,500, that's gonna leave us with $465. I'm getting somewhere, okay? That is kind of a weird number, 436. I don't think that's on sale for the intake, but that's what I seen when I was doing this video. So, all right. Now, the turbo inlet. I went ahead and looked at the CTS, which I own. Currently, I still have it installed. I haven't upgraded that yet to a bigger one. IE's and also 034's turbo inlet. IE's inlet comes in at $190 because you're probably gonna need that $40 adapter to go with the $150 inlet, because I believe unless you go with their intake, you're gonna need that inlet, which will then cost $190 since we're going with 034's intake. That's not gonna really work, and if we went with IE's intake, then we would have went over budget. That didn't work. So that's why we had to go with 034's. And we're gonna go ahead and go with 034's turbo inlet at $125. All right, so now if we go ahead and take that $125 away from our budget, we are now at $340 left. And I would say the next thing we wanna do is some lowering springs. 034 sells their lowering springs for $340. This is gonna help you with stability, bring that car a little bit lower to the ground, and all in all looks better than the stock height. And it's just enough money left over from our performance enhancement build that we are left with enough to cover the lowering springs at $340. And so when you do that, you will have completely spent your $2,500. That's kind of the reason why I went ahead and went with IE Tune, because it was gonna give me a nice round $2,500. And what's so funny is when I was doing this and I was doing my little bit of research, and I got down to $340, I was like, what can we possibly buy for $340? Well, that was gonna like take all of the money. And so when I was scrolling through the catalog on 034, I did see the lowering springs. Now we could have done something else. Like we could have went with 034's rear subframe inserts, transmission insert, or rear diff inserts. But the 340 was a nice round number, and I like that a lot. And we could swap that out with those inserts and they may even be better for you. But like I said, the lowering spring gives you that rounded number. Now what you could do is you could have went with 034 soon, which would have saved you a couple bucks. And maybe you could have went with CTS's intake and CTS's turbo inlet, and you would have had enough money, I think, to incorporate all the inserts and maybe left off the spring or something like that. You could have done something like that. So there are some ways you can kind of configure this to stay close to that $2,500. But for me to keep it nice and round, I went ahead and did the lowering spring so that we could have that round $2,500. All right. That's my idea on a $2,500 budget build that will allow you to run a pretty good time, put your horsepower around an additional 100 to 150 horsepower stock, and even more on the torque side. So that's it for the video. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. And let me know what other budget builds you want to see price wise. I'm thinking I'll do like maybe 3,500 next. Or maybe $5,000, I don't know. But every time we do a budget build, we're gonna start all the way from scratch and we're gonna build up. So we may go a little bit fancier with certain things. All right, so peace, till next time.
If you get up and get it, put your hands up. This the anthem. If you rockin' with it, put your hands up. Yeah, this the anthem. If you get up and get it, put your hands up.